Hi everyone, my name is Robin Austin, and this is my video discussion blog on worldview and objectivity in history education. If you look up the word objective in Webster's dictionary, the word means expressing or dealing with facts or conditions as perceived without distortion by personal feelings, prejudices, or any interpretation. So objectivity in history is obviously very important, and it's the ability to analyze and see historical evidence without allowing our personal ideas, assumptions, or prejudices to distort our conclusion. But everyone brings their own worldview lens to what we do, and objectivity allows a historian to rely on evidence, reason, and truth. In this historical picture, the one on the right is the true picture. King George VI and his wife had gone to Canada to meet the Prime Minister and took the picture on the right, but when the Prime Minister printed the picture for people to see, he had erased George VI. Cicero said that the first law of history is that the historian not tell any falsehoods. We all come to the table with preconceived ideas on certain subjects. And Bolton, in his article about rank, stated that objectivity is not just about getting the information correct, but it's also about what you put in your historical writing, what to leave out. How does your worldview affect all of that? So as history teachers, we must teach from a place of objectivity. We can't allow our prejudices, preconceived ideas, or a revisionist view of history to get in the way of teaching the truth of a historical event as truthfully as we can based on our research. If you go to Liberty's Department of History's website, you can find their list of their biblical worldview principles. And one of them is about objectivity, and it says this. It says, commitment to objectivity and honesty is essential to historical investigation. So if you have a Christian worldview and you are teaching any subject, but as we look at history, then we have to be objective, we have to be truthful, we have to be honest in what we present and how we present it. So we homeschooled both of our children who are now adults all the way, and we homeschooled them all the way through their senior year of high school. And when my daughter was in about third grade, we had gotten a new history book, and we were reading about the Pilgrims coming to Plymouth. And what the book basically said was that the Pilgrims were able to conquer the indigenous people of the area because the indigenous people were savages, and God blessed the Pilgrims because they were not savages. So that didn't strike me as being very objective in a history book. So needless to say, we did not continue with that history book. So if we have a Christian worldview and we're looking for truth, whereas that history book didn't really give God's version of the truth, even though it was a Christian history book, because a Christian worldview would say, John 3:16, that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And then Galatians 3:28 that says, there's neither Jew nor Greek, there's neither slave nor free, there's no male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Because spiritual unity would then transcend social, racial, and gender distinctions, emphasizing equality among believers. And Acts 10:34-35 says, in truth I perceive that God shows no partiality, but in every nation whoever fears him and works righteousness is accepted by him. God's impartiality extends across nations and cultures. And if you have a Christian worldview, then that truth of God must come into how you teach history. In John Fee's article, Christian Historians as Activists, he speaks to the idea that as history teachers with a Christian worldview, we have a responsibility more than just on campus, but we also have a responsibility to have a foot off of campus to live out that calling that God has given us because of our Christian worldview. And that's one of the things I love about Liberty. They have LU Serve and LU Send, and Liberty students go out on mission trips over spring break, over summer break, over other breaks, and they go to the US and they go to other countries of the world, all to show the love of Christ. Thank you for watching. I can't wait to watch you all's. Bye.